Hi class, in this video we're going to talk about group policies. So I'm on my parent DC1. I'm going to go to Group Policy Management. Right now I can only see Contoso.com and I don't see any of my sites. If I right click Sites, I can say Show Sites and click both sites. I don't see all my domains, so I can right click Domains and say Show Domains. So I can manage all my group policies and all my domains from this one location. So what I'm going to do is create a group policy in my parent domain. I'm going to call it DFS share. Click OK. I'm going to right click it and go to edit. And this is just going to be a simple group policy to map a drive letter. I'm going to right click, new map drive. So the path is user configuration, preferences, window settings, drive maps. Make sure you go under users. It's not a computer setting. You map a drive to a user, not to a computer. So when I create a new drive policy, I'm going to change it to create because it doesn't exist. If you just leave it update and it doesn't exist, it won't be able to update it. I'm going to put it in the location, Contoso.com, public. I'm going to reconnect every time they log in. I'm going to label it as public so end users don't see this name. All they're going to see is public. I'm going to give it a drive letter of P for public and click OK. I'm going to close out this policy. I'm going to highlight it. Right now, authenticated users would read and apply this policy. This field right here tells you who's going to apply the policy. This DFS share is only modifiable by users in my domain local group resource access. Because remember, my users are in the global groups, the global group is in the domain local group. So essentially my users are in the domain local group. So what I'm going to do is remove authenticated users because I don't want everyone mounting it. I only want the users from that group mounting it. Click add, and then I'm going to type in resource access and click OK. If I go to delegation and click advance, I can see, I think it's a little easier to understand if you look at it here, but what I did was I added resource access permissions, gave them read and apply. Click OK, go back to scope. So what you're doing is, when you add a user here, you're giving them read and apply permission. So right now, I'm going to link this to the domain. I'm going to choose the DFS. So now that I linked it to the domain, every object in the domain will read this policy. The only users that will apply it will be users that are nested inside of the resource access domain local group. The problem is the child users wouldn't be able to access the share unless they knew the URL. So we want the same policy to be used in the child domain. So I want to link it to the child domain by right-clicking the child domain, saying link an existing GPO. By default, it shows me the GPOs that are made inside the child domain. So basically, here's a folder in each domain called group policy objects, and it's just a folder to store the group policies in. So I want to drop down and choose policies from the Contoso domain and grab that policy. So I don't have to create the GPO 3 times if I want to use it on 3 domains. I could just link it directly from the parent domain. Now I'm going to go to the tree domain and show you what it looks like from there. I'm going to open up Group Policy Management. I'm going to connect to my domain because I'm signed in as a domain admin for the parent domain. Actually, I'm going to sign out of this user account. I'm going to sign in as the Adatum domain admin. I'm going to open up Group Policy Management. And so I want to link that policy that the enterprise admin created to this domain. So I'm going to right click, link an existing GPO, go to the parent domain, I'm having replication issues again. So I'm just going to pause the video and wait a few minutes for the policy to show up. I'm just going to press cancel and stay on this screen. Okay, class, I did something while the video was pausing because I knew it was going to take a long time and I wanted to test it. So basically, I created another group policy. In this group policy, I did something relatively minor. All I did was, under Computer Configuration, Policies, Administrative Templates, Start Menu and Taskbar, I enabled this policy for Start Menu to be either full screen or menu size. And I chose full screen. So instead of linking it to a domain, what I did was I linked it to the West site. So any computer in the West site, whether they be part of the Adatum, Child, or Contoso, would get this policy. And so I applied the policy, reboot this machine, and now when you look at my start menu, it doesn't appear full screen, but you see how it's not black anymore. And if you click on the different menu items, My machine is running really slow. You can see how it goes full screen. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is, so if you have a policy that you need to apply to one site, and a site is a container, just like a domain is a container, just like an OU is a container, which I haven't gotten to yet. You can link a policy to that container, and all objects that are in that container would receive this. So if they had a subnet address of 172.16.16/21, they would get this policy, regardless of the domain that they're in. So instead of linking policies to the domain, you could link a policy to a site. So everyone on the west site will now have a full screen start menu. You could have them go to a certain home page or whatever you wanted to do. But I just wanted to give you an example of a group policy applied across sites. So that's going to be it for group policies. There's still some other things that you need to read about: how to do loopback, how to do enforcement, how to enforce a policy, how policies are applied, local policies, site policy, domain policy, and OU policies. You'll read that in the book. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you. Okay, class, there's one thing I missed with group policies. So I'm going to go to Start menu, type CMD, and open up a command prompt. I'm going to type echo $, login, log1 server, $. So right now, I'm logging in to parent DC1. So when I signed in, that's who I authenticated against. Then I'm going to type GP result Z. Now I could do scope, computer, or user, but I'm just going to do both user and computer scopes. I'm just going to hit enter. I get a lot of questions from students, even back when I was a network admin, trying to figure out why group policies weren't applied. Actually, this is too much, so I'm going to redirect this to a text file. Okay, so here's my computer settings, and when I scroll down, here's my user settings. So basically, it tells me where this object is at. This is my computer object. It's in the Contoso domain under the OU called domain controllers, and that's the name. It's also showing me where I got my policies from. That could be different than the machine that handled your authentication. So don't assume that I'm signing in against DC1, that I'm getting the policies from DC1. It's not always the case. The reason why I'm pointing this out is a lot of people create a policy and don't give it time to replicate to all domain controllers. Or they give it time to replicate, but they still can't get the policy. So you want to know which domain controller you're actually retrieving the policies from, so you can go to that domain controller and see the issue. So basically, I'm receiving this policy from the DC1 machine. And it also shows me what policies were applied. And if any got filtered out, they would be down here. If I scroll down a little bit to the user section, here's where my object is located. my user account. Here's where I retrieve the policies from. The DFS share policy was filtered out because remember, as the administrator account, I'm not part of the resource access group, so I did not receive this policy. It's not going to show me the test policy here because inside the test policy, there were no user settings. So of course I didn't get that policy in the user setting because there was no settings for user account. So it wasn't filtered out, it wasn't read by the user settings. So when you're diagnosing group policy, run this command, GP result /Z. And then you can look at all that information about that policy, where you're getting your policies from. So if I wasn't getting a policy, that's where I would start with to see what went wrong. Okay, guys, I made a separate video for this, but I'm gonna join the two videos together. That's it for this video. Thank you.